Hi, this is Dina for Splitcoaststampers. In this tutorial, I thought it would be fun to walk you through the process of creating this watercolored ornament card. It's a design that's easy to do and easy to modify to your card, so I hope you'll give it a try. To start off, you'll need some masks, and I'm cutting mine from this delicate surface frog tape. I have 3 circle dies that are different sizes. The sizes aren't really important, but mine are about 1 3/4 inches, 1 1/2, and 1 1/4 inches. You can use whatever sizes you have, that's not important, and you can do as many or as few as you want. You don't have to do 3. So I put the tape right onto my cutting plate, and I'll line up my dies and run that through my die cutting machine. There are other wide painter's tapes that you can use, as well as masking papers that have full adhesive on the back. You'll be working with quite a bit of water, so I wouldn't recommend regular paper for this. You really need something that will hold up to a bit of moisture and brushing. From that same piece of tape, you'll need to cut some small rectangles, and the ones I'm cutting here are about 1/4 inch high and maybe 3/8 inch wide. You'll need one for each circle that you cut, and these are going to be the toppers of the ornaments. You can pull the excess tape away, and we are ready to start setting up the card. I've got a panel of watercolor paper here. This is Strathmore cold press paper. It's 140-pound weight, and I'm going to begin by positioning my largest mask first. You don't have to start with the largest one. Just remember that whichever mask you do start with will be the ornament that appears to be in front of the other ones. For me, the largest one looks closest, so it makes sense to me to do that one first. At the top of that first mask, I'm going to center one of my little rectangles so that the ornament has a little topper. You can position the other ornaments wherever you want on the card. I'm overlapping my masks with my first one so that the smaller 2 ornaments will look like they're behind the largest one. With all the masks in place, we're ready to start adding color to the piece. I'm using these Hydrus liquid watercolors, but you could use any watercolor medium that you have for this step. We're going to start with the background, so I'm working here with sap green and Payne's gray, which is a dark blue gray. I have a little pot of clear water, and I'm going to begin by brushing some of that clear water in the area around the ornaments for what we call a wet into wet technique. Into that wet area, I'm going to begin dropping and brushing the paint, and the movement of the water is going to allow the colors to lift and bleed and blend together. Here's where it's really important to have the painter's tape as a mask to really keep the edges of those ornaments secure, since there's quite a bit of water sitting around them right now. While the area is still wet, we're going to add the appearance of some evergreen branches. I'm using a smaller brush here. This is a number 4, and just pulling out a line of color. You can pull it out straight or just give it a slight curve, and then using a flicking motion to create the look of evergreen sprigs around the wet area. You can do as many or as few of these as you want, and they don't have to be perfect. You really just want to create the impression of greenery. We're not going for photorealism here. Just a suggestion of ornaments in a tree. We're going to be working with layers of color in this piece, so you'll want to use your heat tool to dry this layer, or take some time to let it air dry completely. The next layer of color is done just like the first one, and you can really add as many of these layers as you want. We're going to do the same clear water wash again, add in color, and then pull out more branches from the wet area. For this layer, you can use less water so that the colors are more concentrated and come out darker, and you can add more details as you go. You'll want your branches to go in different directions from your first layer, and this step really just builds more dimension into the scene and gives a sense of depth. Again, when you're done adding color, be sure to let this layer dry completely or give it some help with a heat tool, and if you have any wet spots that are on the tape, be sure to dry those off too. We're going to begin painting the ornaments in the background first, so I'm going to remove the 2 smaller masks, and hopefully those will have kept out the paint while we were working on the background. I've added some more colors to my palette, and I'm going to begin with a pretty dark concentration of color, and I'm making a crescent shape along the bottom curve of the ornament, but not all the way to the edge. Rinse your brush to get the color out, and dab off any water that's dripping from the brush, and then with just clear water in your brush, you're going to brush just up to the edge of the colored area, and the water in the brush is going to allow the color to move. So in this step, you'll want to brush above the colored area and then go along the edge of the ornament to fill in that space as well. You'll rinse your brush of color one more time and then finish out by brushing the highlighted area of the ornament, and that should be the lightest area when you finish. All the ornaments are going to be painted with that same technique, a dark crescent of color toward the bottom. Rinse your brush and dab off extra water and then blend above and below the crescent. And then rinse again and paint the highlight with clear water. If you find that there's too much color in your highlight area, you can dab out the paint with a corner of a paper towel. You'll remove the final mask and paint with the same techniques as before. And at this point, I want to say that watercoloring is a skill that does take practice. So for all of you who are going to comment that I make it look so easy, I've been watercoloring for a long time and I've taken the time to practice these techniques and also to get to know the medium that I'm coloring with. Every watercolor medium acts a little bit differently. If you're a beginner, I would really suggest that you break down some of the techniques in this tutorial and practice them. Take a sheet of watercolor paper and practice doing the wet into wet technique. Learn how your particular brand of paint moves with water. Every brand is different. Practice putting down concentrated color and then pulling it out with a clean brush and clear water. All the steps of this tutorial can be done individually and then applied to other pieces. It's just a matter of learning the techniques and getting to know your medium. Right here there was a little section along the bottom edge of the magenta ornament that didn't mask very well, so I'm just creating another little branch here to cover that area up. When you're all done painting, make sure the whole panel is completely dry. I'm going to use a pigment liner pen to add some details to the ornaments. You could use any kind of pen for this if you're not planning to do any more painting. A metallic gel pen would be pretty, or you could even paint these details in if you have a really steady hand. I'm just drawing a small loop at the top of each ornament, and then I'll draw a little bow just for fun. And I'm going to use a ruler to help me keep the lines straight and draw a single line from the center of each little loop up to the top of the card. For the bottommost ornament, I'm going to line up the ruler and start the line where it would be visible above the other ornaments. So that's it. The panel is ready to put on the front of a card with whatever sentiment or embellishments or other touches you want to add. I wanted to share one way that you can add some more details to your ornaments, and that is by using stamps and a reverse mask. On this panel, I've done the background and masked an ornament, and now I'm going to take a reverse mask that I've made with a post-it note and the same circle die and cover the area around the ornament so I can add some details inside the outline. I'm using my MISTI so I can be sure to get the stamp image in the same place every time. First, because I'm not sure how inky this little ink pad is that I'm going to use, and also because sometimes it's hard for a stamp to press through into the opening of a reverse mask. I just note that I'm going to have to stamp several times to get the coverage that I want. Once the color is laid down and you have enough ink on there to work with, you can blend the color just like we did before. Actually, with this ink, I just blended the stamped image out to the outline, and then later I used more of the same ink and some Hydrus ink to get some better shading. The ink that I'm using here is Versamagic chalk ink. You could also use dye ink or distress inks for this technique, or you could color the stamp with watercolor markers or gelatos, watercolor crayons. Anything water soluble should work just fine. Also, feel free to use different water-soluble mediums together. In general, they should play pretty well together. You can reuse the reverse mask to add more stamp details after the paint is dry. Here I'm just adding a script design with gold ink. You could emboss a design as well. That would be pretty. And then add your loops and hangers like we did before. And here's the completed card. You could do this technique with more than one ornament too. You just lay out your masks like we did in the first card and then do the reverse masks in the same order as the painting. I hope I've broken down this process in a way that gives you courage to try it. Thank you so much for watching, and happy holidays.